for eventual appointments?
I haven't heard a word.
I know that there's appointment in the works, but I'm not going to divulge any names because the person, hasn't been told anything yet, and I haven't been told anything yet because I did ask for a recommendation. Maybe all of you were asked as well, but I got asked for a recommendation. And so there's somebody in the works as far as I know. It takes about 5 months from the initial to the appointment.
Wow.
I don't know why, they just do it really slowly.
Oh, it's 5:30. Do you want to get started, Owen, with the link, please? I'll just wait till Owen confirms it. Oh, we're live, just his mic's not working. Okay, thank you. Okay, we can get started. So thank you everyone for joining the Police Service Board meeting Tuesday, April 12th at 5:30 p.m. Get started. First item is roll call. It looks like everyone is in attendance with the exception of Bill Unger. Second item, any disclosure of interest this evening from members? Okay, moving on. Confirmation of agenda. Bobby, do you have a resolution for this?
Yes, that the Aylmer Police Services Board approves the April 12th, 2022 agenda as presented.
Okay, I get someone to move.
I have a question.
Yes.
I wanted to report on the Zone 6 meeting. Does that require a change in the agenda, or can I add it somewhere else along the way, or how do you want to handle that?
We can include that under incoming correspondence.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Bobby?
Yes, that will be fine, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'll move acceptance of the agenda.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or concerns on that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that is carried. Thank you. Next, delegations. Next is adoption of the minutes. The adoption of the minutes from March 8th, 2022. Could I get that resolution read, Bobby?
That the Aylmer Police Services Board adopts March 8th, 2022 minutes as written.
Okay, and someone to move that?
I'll move it.
Seconder?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, concerns on the minutes from March 8th? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Item number 5, delegations. Seeing none, we'll move on to unfinished business. Police Services Board policies, nothing at this time. We can move on to the bylaw. 1-2022 PSB procedural bylaw, third and final reading. So we'll get Bobby to read the resolution and then we can bring it up on the screen and review.
That the Aylmer Police Services Board gives third and final reading to bylaw 1-2022 being the board's procedural bylaw.
Okay, someone to move that. Someone to second. All right, thank you. So I will share. And I know that this was,
Here and Sherry's just got changed. Awesome. See you tomorrow.
okay, all right. So there were some changes from last week, or from last meeting, sorry. This is third and final reading, and has everyone had a chance to go through and are happy with the contents of the bylaw?
Madam Chair, I do have one area that I didn't catch the last time, and I'm sorry to bring it up, but I think this is the only time I can do it. Not a major item.
Okay,
Being fully transparent, I only noticed it because I had signed up to go to the annual meeting of the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards.
mhm.
And this is under Part 4, which is page 7.
Oh, I'm way off, I think. Oh no, I wasn't.
No, you're fine. Keep going.
Okay,
Okay, you've got Part 4. And, I've been to a number of meetings that deal with governance, dealing with police boards. And they talk about independence, and they talk about making sure that, we kind of have our own sort of procedure of doing things. I noticed, and this has got nothing to do with the chief at all, because he has the work to do that. But it seems rather antithetical to the concept of board governance that the police chief would be the person who would okay any of the board members' expenses. It just seems the wrong thing to do. I think it should be the chair of the board that does that. And indeed, for most boards, in fact, all boards, I think, it is the chair of the board that actually approves of board member expenses. However, our procedure states in, item 3 that it is when a member of the board and the chief of police sits out, the allowable expenses are authorized by the chief of police or designate. So I would like to change the wording in there that states that it is the chair of the board that authorizes the board members' expenses.
so right here.
Yeah, so if you take out, actually, if you authorized, you see, the chief of police should authorize that, because I don't see anything wrong with the chief of police authorizing police officers' expenses, because
Right.
they certainly would know what's going on. It's just the board expenses. That's all.
Right.
So
Right.
I would take out in 3, in the first line of 3, I would take out a member of the board. I would just say when the chief of police and or deputy chief, et cetera, allowable expenses be paid by the board, and that's all fine until we get down to the paragraph that says upon return from a convention, which is the 4th paragraph down there. Upon return from a convention, etc., the board member shall complete and submit a travel expense claim form to the board chair.
Okay.
And then you see, and a police officer will submit the same to the chief of police. So how does that sound to everybody? That's basically the only changes that need to be made.
Through you, Madam Chair, if I can make a comment on that. So the budget for the Police Services Board is prepared by the Chief of Police. And when we do the approvals, we have certain codes that are associated to various items that are part of the expense on behalf of the Police Services Board. So I think perhaps that's the reason that they asked us originally to review and approve the expense claims for the convention, seminars, workshops, and et cetera. Because ultimately each expense has its own code, which is captured by the town. And unless the chair wants to take on that responsibility and approve those expenses, I don't have a problem with it. It's just, I think that's the reason behind it, is because we have the police services budget, and we also have a police services board budget.
Correct.
Which is prepared by myself at the beginning of the year, obviously submitted to you for approval. But then as we go through the year and through the expenses, I do the review of any expenses that are brought in and coded, so the town can actually expense it to the right code, to make sure that we stay within the budget on each itemized section of that budget.
Right. Through you, Madam Chair, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do understand that. I think, Chief, that doesn't mean really that the board can't do that. But I'm not looking at the board chair of doing all the expenses, just board members, and I don't think there are hardly any board member expenses throughout the year. In the couple of years that I've been here, I don't know that there have been like any expenses by board members. So I'm just looking at, because if you look at the last paragraph, obviously when the chief of police and the deputy chief are away, then the board chair does actually do the approvals for reimbursement. So all I'm just saying, we could extend the board chair doing that to board members. Other police officers would still remain under the chief's purview. Is that a big deal for the town? Like, I don't know. It sounds like this is a complicated matter for the town to accept that kind of change.
I don't know the answer to that question.
So we did have some discussion. We did have some discussions on approval of expenses for myself and Nick, and there was some back and forth who should be approving those. So I don't approve my own, obviously. So they go to Nick for approval, and vice versa. I approve his to keep that transparency and checks and balances in place. But I mean, if the board chair wants to approve any expenses pertaining to the travel, again, the big thing there for the town is they have to make sure that the proper code is used when that's applicable to that particular item.
Right.
And each year, generally, prior to COVID, each year, at least one board member would go to either a convention or a seminar or workshop to deal with the board matters.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go
Would
ahead.
a compromise to this particular paragraph be that the claim form is submitted to the board chair and the chief of police?
That's what I'm that's what I would like, Pete. So
yeah, I understand
your
rationale, Jack, but if we put the board chair in there, that would solve the issue of the board chair actually reviewing that particular expense, and then it would be covered off with the chief of police being able to submit it through the procedures of the town.
Well,
just a thought,
Madam Chair, if I may. Our procedure already reads in the last paragraph that the board chair is approving the chief of police and the deputy chief expenses, and apparently, I guess we're not doing that because of what Chief Horvath was talking about. However, if the board chair is fine with that, I'm fine with that. I just wanted something, I guess, in our procedure that indicates that we really do have some independence in terms of governance, in terms of expenditures by our own board. That's all.
What would happen if we took out that entire paragraph and just ran with the final paragraph?
The final paragraph only deals with the chief of police and deputy chief expenses. It doesn't deal with board
true.
member expenses.
Okay.
Okay,
Copy
we could add board members if you want to in that, but if you know, remember, maybe we need to wait another month, or to get this right. It may seem picky, but I think it's important enough that it is our procedural bylaw, and we need to understand what you know. If there is a real reason why the town would require that only the chief of police do this, then you know, I kind of want to know what that is. But I can understand. You know, it's a lot easier if the chief of police does it all. It really is. However, I just feel it's not right.
Okay, well, we can just table this, bring it back at our next meeting, May 10th. Do some, you know, just look up. It's fine with me either way that we do this. So I think maybe just the best course of action would be just to bring it back up May 10th, and we can have, you know, look into other members or other boards to see what their wording is, and we can make the changes if that's what the members would like.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me too. Bobby does a great job of finding the right wording.
Yes. So Bobby, are you okay with that? Hello?
Can you hear me, Sherry?
Barely.
How's that?
Not much better. We can hear you though if you talk loud.
Okay. I'm agreeable with that. Sorry. Still having technical
There,
difficulties.
that's better. That's better. Okay. You're in agreement with that as well?
Yes.
Okay. Bobby, are you okay with that?
Yes, Madam Chair. Would you like me just to revise that resolution?
Yes, please. And just, yes. Yeah, if you could do that.
That the Aylmer Police, I'm sorry, that the motion on the floor be amended to read that the Aylmer Police Services Board table item 6B being the procedural bylaw to the May 10th meeting to allow for minor amendments to be incorporated.
Okay, so we already have a mover and a seconder. Are the mover and seconder okay with the amendments and the motion on the floor?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, great. And so all of those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and that is carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Item number 7, new business. There's nothing under there, so we can move into number 8, reports. So let me just bring up what I'm going to share here, and just let me know if you can see my screen easy enough. Is it? I know it's probably not great if you have a small monitor, so my apologies on that. That's okay?
Yep.
All right, Chief, you want to take it away?
Okay, through you, Madam Chair, I'll take care of this portion for Chief Corvette.
Thank you.
So the balance sheet here, we're sitting at a total of 24% spent for the year, which is on par with where we've been in the past. You scroll down unless there's anything that jumps out or anyone regarding any expenses. We did have one journal entry made for the grants that have come in already for this year of near the bottom there of almost $26,000.
Sorry, where is that?
If you look at on the left column, 53100.
53100.
Yeah,
right there. Yeah.
Okay. That's due to some of the grants that we've been fortunate to receive from the province through the transfer payments.
Okay.
The grants that we wrote to.
Right.
Moving on to the PSB budget. Again, nothing out of the norm there, 20% spent. Pending any anything that jumps out for anyone?
Yeah, any questions? Just please speak up because I can't see everyone right now. So just go ahead and speak up. Okay. Sorry, I'm scrolling through here. Okay.
So moving on to the quarterly report. Under crime prevention, we did have one high-risk meeting in the month of March. We have 3 total for the year. 1 community event, 2 total for the year. Again, those have been kind of slow because of the COVID restrictions. Moving on to community patrol and foot patrol. We are at 43.5 hours for the month of March. That's 109 for the year. Bike patrol, we have 0. But I can tell you that I have secured 2 training spots for 2 additional officers to get trained on the bike. And we have placed an order for an additional bike. So we'll have 2 that'll be accessible for the officers, mostly during day shift, to be able to get on the trails and get those hard to reach spots and get the visibility out there. We had 1 focus patrol for the month of March, 3 for the year. Moving on to criminal investigations. Month of March was fairly busy as a result of 2 search warrants that we executed in the first part of March, which resulted in the charges that you see there, the 15 criminal charges for the 2 youths and 19 drug charges. I'll refer to that later on in the highlights for the month with that project. CISO meetings, there were 3. Public complaints. So we had 1 internal chief complaint that was generated as a result to just some off-duty conduct that was investigated and dealt with internally. Community satisfaction, we're sitting at 85% from 2013. However, we did just launch a Google survey, which is part of our strategic planning for this next cycle. So that is live through our Facebook page and was put out on our Twitter account as well. So we have a third party who's monitoring those results for us. And we do plan on doing some phone calls as well with our auxiliary unit, calling residents to put them through these survey questions as well. It's pretty easy. It's about a 5-minute ask of our community to complete that survey. Emergency calls for service, we're at 12 for the month of March, 32 for the year. Public assist and assist other agencies are at 31 for March. No sexual assaults to report, which was good. Violent crime, we're sitting at 5 for the month of March and 15 for the year. It's slightly higher than last year. We scroll down. So our property crime, we're at 3 for the month of March. And with our social media posts, sitting at 30,000. So we're probably going to be higher this year. We were at a bit of a crossroads there. We're subject to losing our Facebook page for just the way it was set up a number of years ago. So we've rectified that so we don't lose any of our data on there, any of the posts that we made. So we'll be able to utilize that moving forward. Social media posts, there were 6. School calls, we had 2 for the month of March. Sitting at 2 for the year. And school visits, there were 2. Trouble with youth, 3. And school lectures, 1. So we are still on a bit of a holding pattern for getting back into the schools, and we have to take the direction of the school boards as to what they come up with the new study that they're doing for having the officers present. So these are reactive calls for service to the schools. Situation Hub, there were 5 meetings. And the follow-up calls, we're at 77 for the month. And the officers are doing a great job just following on, making that extra phone call to complainants. And it seems to be well received by everyone, that they're not forgotten about, and it's not just a call for service. We move on to the next one. Preventable offenses, traffic, there have been 109, 1 liquor, 17 other, and 54, can't see that, criminal code. 34?
I think it's 54.
54, okay. Ride programs, they were able to get out and generate 14 this month, resulting in almost 2,000 vehicles checked. There was 27 warnings under the Highway Traffic Act and 2 approved screening device tests done. Use of force, we did have 2 this month of March, and they're both generated on the same call. It was a conducted energy weapon that was deployed, as well as a firearm. The officers dealt with a pretty high risk situation that resulted in a male who almost barricaded himself in the house, and he was armed with a bunch of machetes and knives. So initially the use of force options were utilized until things were able to de-escalate. And the officers did a really good job using their communication skills to de-escalate. I was on the phone with St. Thomas that night because they were, it was to the point where we needed to either step up and ask for additional resources, but our officers did a great job keeping the male calm, and in the end he did surrender without having to engage any of those other specialty units. And a number of charges resulted out of that, and the family and kids were put in a place of safety. Prisoners processed, we had 9 males, 6 females, 2 youth. 3 were held for court and the others were released. In service training, we've had 3 members partake in their annual block training, which we partner with the OPP for that. There was 2 additional courses for a total of 168 hours for the month. No fitness tests in the month of March. And again, with the budget there, we are sitting at 24% spent. Some of the highlights, we had 224 incidents, calls for service, 6 traffic enforcement, 5 mental health calls, 11 collisions, 4 domestics, and 6 OPP assist. Platoons A and B, like I just explained, that one call, they were investigating domestic occurrence, which involved the forcible confinement, domestic charges laid, which also resulted in those 2 use of force options being used. There was also C&D platoon investigated an assault with a weapon. It was quite a violent assault where several people were arrested for that. There's still 1 outstanding who's wanted for the robbery and the aggravated assault, as well as an impaired driver. Regarding the search warrant, so the start of March, due to our implementation of this new crime position spot that we've been piloting, it really allowed this officer to dedicate some time to gathering intelligence, working with confidential informants, and leading to him getting enough information to draft a search warrant, which was approved for 2 residences, which resulted in 38 criminal charges and 17 drug charges. So it just shows that the taking that time, that the officer has time to work 100% on that and build those connections with the people in the community. We were able to get a bunch of nasty drugs off the street. As well, there was a homemade taser weapon that was seized from one of the houses, which was operational, and a bunch of other knives and machete type things. Moving on to the charts. Comparison charts.
Deputy, one question, if I may.
Sure.
How is the new cruiser working out? Are you able to tell at this point whether you're going to save any fuel or not?
Yeah, we just got the bills for the month of March, and I believe I put that vehicle in service around the 7th of March. So based on that time frame, the cost of fuel came in at around $723 for that new vehicle. The next cruiser that's deployed operationally most of the time was sitting at $1,450 in fuel.
Wow.
So there's 1 week difference there, but I can't see it, being 1,400. So like this month of April will be the true test for us to see where we're at with the fuel savings. But it looks like we're on the right track, and we'll be saving quite a bit of fuel with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Moving on to the charts, the violent crime chart. We're sitting at 5 there, compared to the month before at 4. Scroll down a bit. So we're at 15 for 22. Property crime sitting at 31. So we are kind of in the low end so far, which is good to see. You're going to see the spike here for the March stats because of those search warrants that were executed and the number of drug charges that were laid. And it could continue to go up with this new person in the position and the good work that he's doing in there, and all the officers feeding information to him. Domestic disputes, we're sitting at 13 for 2022. And collisions are sitting at 26 for 22, so they're a bit of a drop there so far, which is good to see. 911 calls are sitting at 32. And just to update you, a couple meetings ago, I explained how we weren't dispatching officers all the time to these 911 hangups. So that seems to be working out really well.
Mm-hmm.
That the communication center is doing a little background work to see if there's any previous history on these calls, and there's no need to send officers to each and every one when there's it's just a hang up and they can get a hold of the person. And foot patrol, as I explained in the quarterly report, 109 hours for 2022. And with the nicer weather, I can see that going up higher. Mental health, we're at about half where we were last year. So if we continue on this, we may surpass last year's stats. But having the MCERT workers really been a benefit for us. And then if the chief wants to go through his report, or do you want me to continue on?
I'll go through my reports, Nick.
That's my report, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. Any, before we move on, is there any questions for Nick?
Madam Chair, if I may, just brief questions. First of all, I'm always amazed at the amount of information that is provided in this report. That's really great. But not a big but what would you say, as chief or deputy chief, what would you say is the most pressing or serious police issue in the town of Aylmer?
Well, I can tell you the most pressing right now for us is the mental health calls for service. They're up, and by the looks at the numbers, first quarter we're at 22. So if this trend continues, we're going to be looking at almost double what we've had the previous years. And again, that's something that really it's a social issue within the community, and certainly one of our grants, which is the local funding grant. Part of those funds have been allocated for mental health and how we tackle that, which is also identified in our community wellness based on the provincial mandate, and certainly that's one area that we're looking at. Because of the crime unit position, we're also looking at something that we haven't done in the past, and not because we couldn't do it. It's just that there was nobody really dedicated to our drug work in the community, and some of the illicit drugs that obviously were there. We just didn't have the resources or the proper method of developing those informants and then continuing on with the execution of the search warrants. And certainly the spike there that you see, we're going to continue on with that. And then obviously the domestic violence, crimes against persons, sexual assaults. We just have been approved for a provincial grant to deal with the sex assaults and crimes against persons, which will help us again. with the training that the officer had last year pertaining to child pornography and sexual assaults and those kind of things. I can envision us having to focus or see some of those incidents go up as well. So on a smaller scale, I mean, we're a small community, but that doesn't necessarily take us away from similar crimes that you would see in the bigger cities. They're just on a smaller scale, and that's why we needed to get that crime spot implemented. And since we've done that, I can tell you that there's been some really good results with respect to the drug issues in our community, domestic issues, sexual assaults, and those kind of things. So, but from the social perspective, which really oftentimes they say police is not really supposed to be dealing with mental health, but unfortunately, it's we're the first go-to because we're 24/7. And with the implementation of that MCERT worker, those MHA calls are going to continue to go up as we do those follow-ups and with the MCERT worker. And that's something that I see as an issue within our community.
Great, thank you. It's interesting to hear that exactly the mental health issue is number one, and as you say, it's an area that a lot of debate on whether the police should be handling it, but also, as you say, who else is going to be doing this? And right. So, you know, I think the like social determinants of health and social determinants of crime, major issues that the public health has to deal with. Anyway, that's another matter. But thank you very much for that.
Okay, continuing on with my report, month of March was busy with search warrant assistance, both on the 1st and 2nd of March, DBI high-risk meeting, situation table meeting, strategic planning and development. Obviously, we're into the 2022-2025 year where we have to have our strategic plan developed. We're just waiting. The plan is about 3/4 completed right now. We're just waiting for the community survey results to be plugged in there with some of those stats put into the plan. And then I'm hoping to be able to present it in May for your review and approval. So that'll take us into year 2024 and the new one to be done in 2025. Learners teleconference regarding the lawsuit that is pending. Again, that's been all of the forms and all the documents have been submitted to the law office. I don't foresee any issues there. I also participated with one of the officers on the Meals on Wheels police relations in the community where food is delivered to those that are less fortunate in their community or perhaps are not mobile to be able to get that hot meal. So that was a good thing each year. Budget first year, we're on target, no issues there. Nick already talked about the search warrants. Local grant funding has been approved. The provincial grant, I just actually received that today. I'm going to, Madam Chair, need you to review that grant application for the local funding. It needs your signature, which is the actual agreement between the province and Aylmer Police Services Board for that grant. I believe it was sent to the Police Services Board as well as myself. And it needs to be back to the government, I believe, by the 22nd of April. So they also need the proof of insurance as per usual. So once I get that signature, I can also get the town to provide us with proof of insurance, and we'll be good for that. And likely we'll have to do the same for the provincial funding grant, which has been approved. And Nick did a really good job on that, actually, the provincial side of the house. I did the local one, and both have been approved, which gave us pretty good numbers for the next 3 years with respect to some of those programs that I talked about. We are still in discussion with Solicitor General's office on grant money for the new ALPR card or technology. So we're hoping to get at least one approved. So we'll have 2 ALPR technology equipped vehicles. And as far as the other direct operating expenses, no issues there. We're well within the budget on that aspect of it. In terms of my hours, only 3 shifts for the month of March, where I had to be used as a backup officer. And Nick and I are sort of sharing that responsibility. And it's been working out very well so far. And that's my report, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you both for that. Any questions or concerns for the chief before we do the resolution? Okay, seeing none, can I get, if you could read that resolution, please, Bobby?
The Aylmer Police Services Board adopts report items A to G of the April 12th, 2022 agenda.
Okay,
Moved by Bill.
Okay, and I need a seconder.
Pete.
All right, and all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. All right, moving into incoming correspondence. So this was the addition to the agenda. So I will turn this over to Member Cookett, and you can give an update on the OAPSB meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This was Zone 6 meeting, and I believe Pete was there as well as Bobby was there. So I'll try to be really brief. The majority of the zone meeting was a presentation on the training of PSB members, and it was really very well put together, and a lot of interesting points, and I think important points have been made. Since 2019, anyone new on PSB has to go through the training, which the OAPSB has initiated, which is a kind of a new thing, but I think it's important. And the person who I forgot his name now, I didn't write it down. The person who made the presentation really stressed the idea that training should be done in a kind of situational sort of manner. Not like somebody standing in front of the class and telling you things, but actually giving you case studies to work through. And I think that's pretty important. He says the training that matters would be the how, not just spectate. He used the word spectate. The how, not just spectate at board meetings, and that board attendance, board members should be based on competency, and really did stress that. He did say that police governance, the governance of police through the board is not the same as policing. So there's a lot of members that don't want to touch the concept of policing, and I don't think we do, but we could still do governance in terms of what it is that we would like to see the police do. That doesn't mean that we actually are telling them what to do, but that was basically his point. And he talks about the need for, independence for the oversight role, and that was kind of the trigger of this whole little discussion that we had earlier about, our procedure bylaw is important, even though it seems like you're nitpicking away. And he did say that people on the board, Police Services Board, should get reasonable compensation, which they're not getting right now. So that bad word about compensation, but nevertheless, I think the points that he made were very, very valid. And I think the training of people on the Police Service Board should continue, even for those that have been on there forever. I include myself as part of that. All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Pete.
Thanks, Madam Chair. One of my takeaways from the session was that training, as Jack has said, is important. I think we as a board traditionally have shied away from participating in some of these courses or seminars, under the illusion that they cost money. And we're always trying to cut expenses. And sometimes we're cutting those expenses at the peril of advancing the knowledge of the board members. And the session was quite strong on that. We should get away from that hindsight or that type of insight, and encourage the members where practical to attend training sessions and gain from it. A little bit of input fiscally can have a huge reward on the other end on knowledge and awareness of the responsibilities of a board member.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that. And on that note, I just want to make mention that Jack Cookett is going to be attending the OAPSB spring event. So he is registered and he will bring back a report for the board after that. And my apologies, I did sign up for the meeting, and then I had a work function that came up that I had to I had to attend, so my apologies on that. But thank you both for attending. It is appreciated, and it is good to see representation. I have attended in the past, and it is an important piece that we should make sure that we try to attend as much as possible. So thank you both for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, and moving on is closed session, and there is none this evening. So moving on, next meeting date is May the 10th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. I will send out the meeting notice right after this meeting. And the last item is adjournment. Bobby, do you have a resolution?
That the Aylmer Police Services Board does now adjourn at 6:18 p.m.
So
Okay.
moved.
Seconder?
Bill, second.
Okay, right, thank you. And all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Have a great night and
Good night, people.
enjoy the weather.